in what I'm able to present over here. But basically, I'm with the Threatened Amphibian Program, which is under the Endangered Wildlife Trust. And you might have seen Jean present about the frogs yesterday. I'm here to talk about, we use frogs basically to elevate the importance of frogs underneath our program across South Africa. And then we do quite a lot of research to bridge this gap between research and on-the-ground sort of operational things. And then obviously we trying to align with global standards. But one of the things we also look at is the bringing about social change. So we can start to create an appreciation for frogs and understanding for frogs, as well as the environment that they are found in. So I'm sure a lot of you know what social change is, but basically it's about to change our perspective and to change the sort of cultural and social norms within a community, within a situation. So that sort of change in culture in terms of frogs and appreciation for frogs, what we want to do is try and get a self-regulated community that is able to make local decisions, take local actions and remediation, to be able to secure the ecological infrastructure, which will actually create secure economies and ecological infrastructure and services that offers in their community. Okay, so where we are, this case study is basically in looking at two projects that we've got in eThekwini. We've got the one in Isipingo. I don't know how many people have visited Isipingo, but it's a small little 4 hectare wetland next to a wastewater works, and then you can see at the top over there, you can see a transit camp. But inside there's this Pickersgill's reed frog, which is found, which is endangered, and that's the source of where and why we're working there. And then we've got the Adams Rural Traditional Authority community area, which was just up the road, basically, in the Mbulu area. And you can see just in the southern side of eThekwini. And the endangered Pickersgill's reed frog is found in both these sites. The one is a 4 hectare wetland, the other is a 503 hectare wetland. So it's quite expansive. In the Adams Mission area, it is the kloof frog is also found there, and as well as the critically endangered coastal wetland and grassland, as well as the swamp forest. So it's quite a key conservation area. But it is managed by the traditional authority, the Sabona Traditional Authority, which I'd like to acknowledge that comparing the two, they've actually done pretty well. They've got a 503 hectare wetland, which is really is not fragmented and quite well intact. Whereas Isipingo is under the eThekwini municipality, but yeah, so traditional authorities have actually done quite well in that respect. So for all our projects, although we focus on securing habitats to protect and secure the Pickersgill's reed frog, we can't ignore the fact that there are people in the next door, are living next door to these sites. So we do baseline assessments of obviously both the ecological as well as the social ecological aspects, and we do that through wetland health assessments. We've also got EGS, sort of citizen science, which we do, but I haven't included that part of here. And we do community land engagement surveys, which is one-on-one interviews with people that surround and live around these areas, and as well as environmental attitude assessments, which is a multiple choice sort of questionnaire. And yeah, this is ongoing data, but this is baseline data that we've used to just compare these two sites in terms of their health and the wellness of the community. So Ryan Edwards did some surveys. He's done 2 surveys in Adams Mission in 2015 and then in 2018. And then in between he's done a survey or assessment in Isipingo. And yes, you can see that the present ecological state in Adams Mission is a B, which is largely natural with few modifications. So that's actually quite significant that this 503 hectare wetland in Adams Mission is actually still in really good condition and should be a key conservation area for eThekwini, well, and actually for KZN. And then the E is Isipingo, okay, which is seriously modified. And you can actually see that from the 2 different pictures. And Pickersgill's is still found there. And that site in Isipingo is considered a CBA as well for eThekwini. So based on that, so we know that the impact of the wetlands and where they're sitting in sort of the state. So we kind of want to understand about the people living there and how does this impact on the people. So we did the community land engagements. I just put them in as a key. And on average, in the Adams Mission sites, we've got about 6 people living in the per household, as opposed to 4. The average age of the questionnaires was between 40 and 32 for Isipingo, and then mostly females in the Isipingo responded to the questionnaire. 29% are employed. This is a bit tricky because a lot of our surveys were done in the afternoon during the week as well, so this data is probably needs to be interrogated a little bit more. But yeah, 25% were employed in Isipingo. What's interesting is that the immigration is quite high in Isipingo. In Adams Mission, it's 68% of the people that were interviewed actually came from other areas. They're not local residents. And obviously, Isipingo being a transit camp, there are 95% immigrants over there. Actually, there should be 100%. There probably people come from the area, but they don't actually live in that Tsimane site. A lot of people are moving out into Adams Mission because you can see it's a lot more beautiful and it's got a lot more space. And yeah, a lot less problems. The average span of that people have been there for is between 18 years in Adams Mission, so they've been around for a while. They've got quite a good visual assessment and how they've engaged with their land. And Isipingo has been there average between 7 years, bearing in mind that it was only established in 2009, that was a Tsimane transit camp. So in terms of those demographics, so how do people respond? And it's actually quite interesting. Like 86% of the people in Adams Mission said yes, they enjoy living there. They like it, okay? Whereas 85% of the people in Isipingo said no, they don't like it. It's a direct contrast. There are some that were unsure, but yeah, it's very clear the difference in the way they live. And how would they describe the area? It's also quite interesting. I've just listed the sort of top 5 responses, which represented over 50% of the respondents. And yeah, like the highest, you can see there's quite a lot of negative ways to describe your area in Isipingo, whereas in Adams Mission it's a lot more descriptive, positive, or neutral, which is also indicative of the value of that area. The top ranking is obviously it's dirty space. If you look at that picture, that's actually the houses, the state of their conditions where they live around this wetland. And then on this side, you can see Adams Mission, the household and relation and the intactness of the system that they live in. So what is the best part of they live there? Why do they like this? Obviously, Isipingo, none. It's very negative, right off the bat, okay? Whereas again, I'd like to just highlight, in the describing of the area, quiet and spacious and peaceful are already, very serene sort of sentiments. Again, what's the best part is the quietness and the peacefulness that rank in that top 5, which is quite significant, because it means that peacefulness and quietness is contributing to the reason why they like to live there, which is indicative also of psychological and social well-being in that space, which I'll get to now. So what threatens? Both crime is quite high, but yeah, sickness is, actually I'm surprised it's not higher, but yeah, sickness is a threat to the area based on the conditions that they live there. A lot of raw sewage runs directly into that wetland. That 4-hectare wetland is working really hard, cleaning up the water and the effluent and the sedimentation that comes in there. So, but then on the other hand, water shortage in Adams Mission is also ranked up there, which is quite interesting. They only got tapped water from the municipality 10 years ago. And as soon as the tap went on, all of a sudden the water resource that they used to use, which is right down the bottom, is now not actually present anymore. So, well, in their minds. So although the water is used, which you'll see, there's still this gap of like when the water is not coming through the tap anymore, there's no water. So that's quite interesting sort of perspective. So in terms of how they use their land, okay, so this is quite significant because if you bear in mind the spaciousness, the peace and quiet, and the sort of conditions, 58% of Adams Mission people are still farming, which is, in terms of sustainable livelihoods, that's something that you actually want, that's actually a positive thing, whereas 9% are actually farming in very small spaces in Isipingo. Then, in terms of use of indigenous medicinal plants, 66 of the Adams Mission community still utilize medicinal plants in the area for food and medicine, whereas only 44% use plants in Isipingo. And I thought that was actually quite high, so I was quite interested to see that. Thank you. That 81% of the plants that they use in Adams Mission are actually indigenous. And there's 15 different species that they recorded, that they used, that we know of. Whereas in Isipingo, there's only 50% of indigenous plants, 50% are being used, but only 2%, only 2 plants are indigenous that they've listed. So the diversity of use is actually quite interesting. Then we look at the water, and 37% of Adams Mission people do use the water for washing or cleaning or swimming and those sort of recreational purposes as well, whereas only 2%, I'm surprised it's 2% because there is raw sewage over there, but yes, there is some level of water use in that area. And interesting, 33% of Adams Mission noticed a change in their water system over the last 10 years, whereas 45% noticed the change in their water system in Isipingo. And obviously it's a time scale thing. Watching changes over a long period of time is not as easy visible in Isipingo over 7 years, and you've seen a deterioration once since a Transcamp has come in there, how that wetland has been destroyed over that period of time. So it's quite easily recognizable how that changes. So you can understand why 45%, that number is actually higher for Isipingo. Since we're looking at frogs, we also asked if they had any problem animals. And yeah, for Adams Mission, 0.5% of the population felt that frogs were a problem, whereas 11% of them felt it was a problem in Isipingo. So yeah. And then waste management is a major issue in both, but obviously higher in Isipingo. 77% of them said that they had problems with waste management, whereas only 69%, which is still high, had a problem with in Adams Mission. In terms of the attitude surveys, okay, obviously our 40-point mark is the highest that you can score, and minus 40 is the lowest. Adams is sitting about 10.5, and Isipingo is 4.6, so there is quite a difference. Both of these do need to develop more appreciation. So as I said, this is our baseline data, and we do have various interventions, but it does show that the baseline is still an easier point to work from. And then, just in terms of pathways which we got from this paper, natural biodiversity and biodiversity-supported ecosystems actually benefit people through their health and well-being, which I want to highlight that peacefulness and quietness as quite important in terms of psychological benefits, physiological benefits, decreased inflammatory and other infectious diseases. So there's a whole lot of other things that they actually benefit in terms of your health and well-being. And all of this really says, well, if we keep our ecological infrastructure and secure it intact, we can be able to people can utilize the environment more effectively, which could contribute to social well-being, reduce our impact on clinics and our health system and the economy, and that we can foster greater appreciation for the natural environment. And if they've got this appreciation for the natural environment, then they would also be more willing to secure these natural resources. And this obviously improves the health and well-being of the people that live in the area. So it provides a strong indication for ecological restoration towards the promotion of social ecological integrity. I think in an ailing world where we're trying to fight for species as well as social well-being, in fact, actually the two are not separate. If we secure threatened species and threatened ecosystems and habitats, we will actually be able to secure health and well-being of the people in the community that live around those areas. So yes, I'd like to thank everyone who supported this program through funders and the work, and thank you very much.